Hey guys. So, hopefully you got your mystery story written and turned in last week. You had the extra time last week to get that done. If you haven't done that yet, you need to get that done as soon as possible. So the next couple weeks could even leak into a month, depending on how much you guys need help with this kind of stuff. We're going to be talking about applying for jobs and also applying for college and completing FAFSA. Anything that you have questions about for your journey next year, hopefully we're going to get taken care of this year or this month if you haven't taken care of them yet. Um, I realize that there are some of you all who are going straight into college, and I realize there are some of you guys who are going straight into jobs after high school. And either way, I want you to really tune into these next couple weeks because I'm going to help you either way. If you're saying, I'm going to go straight to college, I'm not going to look for a job right now, that's great. Do that. But you may get in the middle of college and realize, it would be nice if I had my own apartment. And so maybe I need to get a job, and you have no idea how to get a job or how to write a resume or anything like that. And so it's good practice. And then if you say, well, I'm going straight into the workforce after this, I don't care about college. Awesome. But what if you get into the workforce and your boss tells you, hey, I want you to go take, this 6-month course at ACTC, and you've got to go through the process of applying and you got to pay for it yourself, but you'll get a raise. And you're like, how do I do that? Right. So even if you think right this second you're not going to go one path or the other, I want you guys to tune into this stuff because you don't ever know what's going to happen. I can't tell you the amount of people that I graduated high school with who were dead set on going to college, and they were going to, they had all these grand plans, and then life happened, and that didn't work out, and they had to find a different plan. And I don't know necessarily that we were taught um, sort of how to deal with those things. And so, we're going to figure out how to do that stuff. And I also know a lot of people who decided, hey, I'm going to go straight into the workforce. I don't have any desire to go to college. And then they got, 5, 10 years down the road in their profession, and they didn't really like what they were doing, or it was, back-breaking work, and they wanted to do something that wasn't so hard on them. And so they were like, I'm going to go back to college. Um, and so you don't ever know what's going to happen. Um, once get into adult life. And so I'm going to teach you guys some of this stuff. Tune into it, pay attention to it, go through the process because it can't hurt anything. Um, and it's just something good to sort of have in your back pocket to know how to do. So today, we're just going to focus in on resume writing, and that'll be today and the next lesson. Sorry, my dogs are barking. And so we're going to look at a couple of examples of bad resumes and things that you should try to avoid. And we're going to look at an example of a good resume, my resume. And then I am going to just have you guys sit down and think about what you have done over the course of your existence so far, whether it's volunteer work, it's being a member of a club, it's participating in something with your church, whatever it might be. I want you to write down every single thing that you have done. Any work that you've done, obviously, too. If you've worked at McDonald's for the past 4 years or 3 years or whatever, put that in there. Um, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay. So let's switch to um, things to not do on a resume. Okay, we're not worried about formatting yet, just right now. But I want to sort of point out to you some things that I think are really important for you to understand when we begin putting this into an actual document. Okay, so I just use a simple website that I feel like pretty much covers the bases, called Bad Resume Examples. And we're going to look at a couple of them. So the first one here, spell your stuff correctly. Okay, so if you look here, um, severing guests. I hope you're not doing that. Comprehensible is not a word that we need to use there. Server is spelled wrong. And these are things that maybe this person thought they had double checked. They thought they had the right thing, because here's the thing, severing is a word. It's not going to show up as a misspelling or anything on a spell check. So somebody else needs to look at your spelling and just needs to look at how you go about writing your resume before you send it to a job. Okay. And I will say this, I don't care if you're applying to be the president of the United States or the lowest of the low crew member at Taco Bell. I don't care, because you know what? It matters if your spelling is correct on your resume. It matters this is how your boss, your future boss sees you. And if they get a resume that looks awful and it's clear that you didn't even double check what you were doing, why would they hire you? It doesn't matter what position you're trying for. You should always be on your giving your best to that position because you want that job, right? Maybe you do want the job because you need a paycheck, but that's not what you're really doing, right? That's not how you get a job. Um, the next thing that we need to avoid is doing too much. So obviously, this guy has just really, it's just over the top. And I think he probably was trying to stand out. He was probably trying to say, maybe if this is like, if it's obvious what I'm doing and how cool I am and how good I am at this stuff, then I'll get hired for it. Great. But not really necessary. Because all this really tells the salesperson or person who's looking at this is like, okay, so why are they putting all these extra things in here? Are they trying to hide something that's on their resume from me? So when you do a resume, you want to be really straightforward with it. You want to just say, this is what I have, this is what I do or did, and this is why it's important. Okay, so you're always keeping in mind when you're thinking about resume, what job am I trying to apply for? Next thing. So this one, I understand maybe where we start from with your all's resumes because you may not have any experience in anything, which is why I'm going to help you. Okay. Um, you have to learn how to take small things that you have done and make them into more important things because they are important things, whether you realize it or not. So this person was responsible for receiving calls from customers. Okay. What did you help customers with? What did you do? So she says, okay, I tasked with updating clients on connection status. Not very helpful, right? All of the lists of things that she gives here are not useful because she's applying to be a customer service representative, but she's not talking about what she did. The only thing she gives us is try to create positive rapport with customers. Well, how did you try to make your interaction with your customers positive? She doesn't really tell us that. Okay. So we don't really get a lot of information about what she did. And here's some things, good experiences. This is what I did. Responsible for increasing sales is not really a great bullet, but we'll talk about that when we start writing our own. You have to be careful of the font you use. You want it to be legible, and you don't want it to look childish, essentially. Okay, this one I feel like should be obvious, but I'm just going to say it anyway. So this person is looking for a sales manager position. They have no experience, but they're looking for it. But in their qualifications, they put things that they did on a video game. Now, that is not something that you do. Don't do that. Don't put things on there about video games. You're not going to get a job. Unless you are applying to be a professional video game person, a video game player, then don't put that on your resume. Okay? That should go without saying, but your resume should be one page. I don't care how much experience you have, it should be one page. I've been working since I was 16 years old, so I've been working 16 years. Sorry, that took me a long time to do that math. I apologize. But I've been working 16 years. But I did not put 16 years worth of experience on my application or on my resume. Okay. Now, I want to look really briefly at my resume. I have to figure out where I have it a little bit. Hang on just a second. Let me change this. So for my resume, let's pretend like I am applying to get a teaching job because that's my profession. So I'm going to pull this up. So it's really pretty straightforward. Pretend like you don't see my address. Don't stalk me, okay? But this is my resume. My name is at the top. My information is the right-hand corner, email, all that stuff. That's my personal email. I'm not going to put my school email because this is a job that I'm getting that be outside of my school experience, right? So I've done a couple things. I put my experience here at the top, and these explain the experience that I have from being a teacher. Okay. And so I've been teaching since 2014, and I talk about what I've been doing in these different positions. I haven't updated it to say it's been for this year too. But I talk about, I helped with my AP students. I was a drama club sponsor. I coach for the academic team. I do the district leadership team. And I talk about all the things that I do that are not just in the classroom, because that's not necessarily what they're looking for. They know that I know how to be in the classroom because they can read my last job's qualification. I add to that with my new position. I have any skills that I have, and granted, these skills are not necessarily the most helpful, but it is good to have a CPR certification as a teacher. And then I also have my education here. I have the different schools I went to. Now, your education will have your high school experience. If you are taking any sort of dual credit classes or anything like that, then you're welcome to put those classes on there too, because you technically are going to that school either through ACTC or Moorhead or whatever. And so we'll talk about that. Okay. So I've given you a ton of information. I know, and it's a lot. Um, but what I want you to do for today's lesson is I want you to go or think about a job that you want. It can be, maybe you already have a job. If you already have a job, you can use that one. If you work right now, use that job for your resume. Okay. And you probably maybe even did an application instead of a resume, but let's just pretend that you haven't gotten hired for this job, but you do need a job. Okay. If you don't have a job, look for or think about a job that you really want to have. Whether it's something that you want to have in the future, something that you want to have, now, or something that, it's like your dream job, whatever it might be. I want you to think about that job, and you're going to put that on a Google document at the very top. And then underneath that, on that same Google document, I want you to tell me, or write out, tell yourself really, everything that you've been involved in since you started high school. So anything that you've done for clubs, any clubs that you've been a member of, any sports that you've played, any leadership positions or awards that you've gotten from those sports, any thing you have done with band or choir, anything that you have done with your church, if you go to church, um, any sort of leadership skills that you've done, any jobs that you have held, even if you are writing a resume for the job that you are currently in, write that down. And then tell me about those different things. If you went on a missions trip with your church, what did you do? What were you responsible for doing? Did you help build houses? Did you hand out food? What did you do during that missions trip that makes you somebody I want to hire? Pretend like I'm your hiring person. Okay. So that's all you're going to do for this. And then we're going to work on the next lesson. We're going to work on formatting your resume and putting it into what you want it to be. Okay. So for today, all I want you to do is get a Google document set up, write down what job you're trying to get, whatever it might be, whether it's a job you already have or one you want. What job are you trying to get? And then list underneath there everything that you have done since you started high school that can be an award, a skill, an activity, anything that you have done at all, even if it's not relevant to the job you want, anything that you have done at all since your freshman year of high school that you could put as something that you know how to do on your resume. Okay. So that's all you got to do today. And then when we come back the next time, we will talk about how to plug in this information into a resume and make it work for you. Okay. So go to your resume planner, essentially, and then we'll come back and talk next time. Have a good day, guys.